All right, this is my second video on Ancient War Series Revisited. The one I put up, 5 years ago was really a rough draft, and there was a lot of issues with it. And this one, I streamlined it, made it more fluid. It's really going to be enjoyable, and I'm really looking forward to it. And I mean, how can you not have a scenario covering the conquests of the whole known world or many other nations by the Romans? I mean, they do have scenarios covering specific campaigns and stuff, but man, I mean, in World War II, you have World in Flames, you have the Global War, Third Reich gaming system, and Napoleon, you have Empire in Arms, War and Peace, and I understand these only go for, 5 years and then 10 years, but in this one we have to cover, 100 and 200 years, but you still have to have something, and I think my scenario is going to do just that. And what makes one of the differences is the Ancient War Series system is based on a two-player game. You have one Roman player and one non-Roman player, and game events cover that, a Roman player and non-Roman player. In my scenario, you have two Roman players. You can have 2 to 4 players. Well, the 2 players are the Roman players. And one's a red Roman player, one's a purple Roman player. And these players are competing against each other as well as all the external threats. So it makes it very much enjoyable. Now, another thing I like about my scenario is you get to play every Roman leader that you know and heard of through history. You're going to be able to represent them. They're going to arrive on the game and then be removed just like they were in history, and you're going to be able to recreate a lot of the stuff that they did. Now, one of the last things that I think my scenario will bring to the table is it eases you into the game. Like some of these campaigns in the Ancient War Series book, it starts out pretty chaotic, and you have events that are making it kind of chaotic, and you're not understanding the rules. Just like any game, if you don't understand what's happening or don't have a concept of what to do, it's going to be rough playing. Well, in my game, we ease you into that. The events start off slow. You're going to learn the mechanics of the game. You're going to learn the system and understand how it works before you get into the chaotic world. So I like that very much. So, with all that being said, I believe I've come up with 5 basic concepts that any player, even if you've already played the game and you know it, but you need to understand the game, especially if you're a new player. And these are the concepts that we need to understand. And the first concept are the rules. I think the rules were done very well. They're pretty easy to follow. And I really like all the systems that they have here. But let me just use this recruiting section for 1 minute. Now, when you read the recruiting rules, and a lot of the rules are set out like this, every time you have the section you're reading, it'll go over the general rules. These are the general rules in the beginning of how you recruit. And then it breaks it down into more details for specific maps that you're playing on. So if you're using the Roman Civil War, Caesar and Gallia, Germania, Trajan, then there's specific details for recruiting within those maps. And then at the end, it says game expansion. Well, the game expansion rules are the ones that I use most of the time, or pretty much all the time, because these are based on multiple maps being put together, which my scenario is. So you have to understand this in the rules. There's the general section, and then you have to understand there's some specific details for the maps, and then the game expansion. So knowing what you're reading and depending on the maps you're using. Now let's just take, for example, this rule number 8.21, recruiting by leaders. In bullet number 3, it says, in all cases, a unit may only be recruited on a friendly controlled city of the same color. So it's going to give you specifics for the games, the expansion, and each specific map. But in all cases, you do this. So just understand the rules are going to be written like this throughout it. So I want that to make clear. If you understand your following certain sections of the rule, maybe not necessarily other ones. And then they do tell you stuff like in all cases. So just keep that in mind. Now, basic concept number 2 are the cities themselves. I think this is very important. The Ancient Rome series scenario books base all their victory conditions on cities. Now, there may be some specifics thrown in there in certain scenarios to add to it, but it's always based on the control of cities. So in our game, when you're playing, you have to keep that in mind. In every scenario you're playing, is the cities are the most important. Now, what do the cities do for you? Well, number 1, you can recruit your same colored legions off the same colored cities. They give you supply, and you use them for victory conditions. Now, what constitutes control? Well, for you to control a city, you have to have a combat unit, or just a leader with even out a combat unit, or your colored civis unit on it, and then you control the city, and it's used for victory purposes. So when let's just look at Gallia here, for example. When you're conquering Gallia, all you got to do is occupy these cities and you control them. Now, the Roman players, they're allowed to convert other colored cities to their color, which for the purple player and the red player, all their cities are red, and they can recruit from them. You can convert the other cities to their color. And what does that do for you? It means you can recruit your men off them. Now, they can do this for any city on the board except the Parthians. The rules state that they are not allowed to convert Parthian cities. But other than that, why would you convert a city to your color? Well, because it does cost you some. It costs you a stratagem and a legion. And you would follow the colonization process to do that. You see these little white squares here? These are future Roman cities. And if you colonize them, follow that method, you can turn them into your red Roman cities, which would be counted for victory conditions. But why would you go around and convert all these cities? You really wouldn't. You would just control them. That's the easiest. But let's look at an example here. If I was invading Britain, look at this Gallic city up here. If I'm invading Britain, I have to bring all my recruiting from down here, and then I would have to transport them across Gallia and get them up there. It's not very efficient. So I may want to convert this Gallic city up here to a red Roman city, because now if it's a red Roman city, I can recruit my red Roman legions off it. So those are times when you would want to convert the city. Now, there are the rules that say when the game starts, every city you control will remain your city. If another player takes it, he takes control of the city, but when you take it back, it goes right back to being your colored city. However, when you convert a city to your color, if the opponent takes it back, then it converts back to the original color, and then if you were to retake it, you would have to go through the colonization process again to convert it. So I just want you to keep cities in mind. They are very important, and when to convert them and when not to. Now, the third concept are the stratagems. Now, stratagems to me are hand in hand with the cities. You need them to win the game. The stratagems become available during the game. You can lose them due to events or certain things that happen on the board. They're very important. The stratagems are going to help you keep your attrition losses to a minimum. They're going to help you move your fleets, move your land units, conduct combat. They're going to help you assassinate other leaders. They protect you from your own. They help you stop events happening to you. So stratagems are very, very important. So if you got to make some moves on the boards or conduct some campaign, not only just to take other people's cities, but to get some stratagems, then you may want to do that. So keep that in mind. Now look at this sheet right here. This is the player aid card about the stratagems, and it gives you your military stratagems, political stratagems, agent stratagems, and then some nations will have some special stratagems. And it lists everything those stratagems do for you right here in the player aid card. So this is very helpful. So keep that in mind. Stratagems are very important. Now that brings us to our fourth concept. Well, that's the victory conditions. Of course, we need to know the victory conditions. So if you're going to go about winning the game, we need to know what we're after and what's important. So in my scenario, the victory conditions are based on the Ancient War Series scenario system, and it's about cities. Now, in my game, because it goes 300 years, I give a couple chances for each player to win an automatic victory, and it's based on history. So if we look at the red Roman player here, and he starts with 27 cities in his control. Well, I just picked a number and kind of keep it simple between the red and the purple Roman player. I picked 50 BC. Well, by 50 BC, Caesar had taken all of the Gallic cities. So my rule is this. One, and again, this is right in line with the Ancient War Series scenarios. 50 BC, if 50 BC hits and the red Roman player controls all the Gallic cities, controls Rome, and controls 40 total cities, he wins an automatic victory. All right, simple as that. The purple Roman player, now he starts with 11 cities, but he has an ability to, look at all these tan client cities, and they're weakly held, they're weaker, and it's easier for a purple Roman player to take a lot of cities, so don't let this alarm you. But he starts with 11, but we just say the same thing by 50 BC or at 50 BC. Because why? Because Pompey, actually by 60 BC, Pompey had taken all the cities in Turkey here, Armenia, Syria, and Judea. So by 50 or at 50 BC, if the purple Roman player can control 3 Armenian cities and control 30 total cities and control Rome, he'll win the game. Now, what's that mean between the red and purple player? They both can't gain an automatic victory because they both need to control Rome. So keep that in mind. But why do I say Armenia? Because remember, the Parthian player and the Roman player, they're always in history, the contention between these two empires was always Armenia and Syrian cities. Always. And they fought many, many times over them. So the purple player has to make sure he controls at least 3 Armenian cities. Now for the Parthian player, now remember, the Parthian player controls all the client states, when Rome is fighting them. But the Parthian player, for him to achieve an automatic victory at 50 BC, he has to control 5 total cities, and 3 of them have to be Armenian, and he has to be in control of all his Parthian cities. So right away, that puts the purple Roman player and the Parthians against each other. They both can't achieve an automatic victory because they both need 3 of the 5 cities in Armenia. Now, what does the barbarian player need? Well, the barbarian player needs to control 3 Gallic cities. So that puts the red Roman player against the barbarian player right away. They both can't win. The only players that can win together are the non-Roman players. If they both achieve an automatic victory, they win the game, and they stop the Romans from fulfilling their destiny. So keep that in mind. Now, if no one achieves their victory, the game will continue to 50 AD. Now, when you get to 50 AD, it's another marker point that you can win an automatic victory. At 50 AD, if the red Roman player achieves all his other conditions from the first marker, plus add 5 more cities to it, so he needs a total of 45 cities and all the Britain cities, he'll win the game. The purple Roman player, we're going to add 5 cities to him. Again, keep it simple. So instead of 30, he needs 35 cities. He needs to meet all the conditions from the first marker, but now he has to make sure he controls Egypt. So he has to have all 3 of Egyptian cities. And what's the Parthian player need? The Parthian needs to have 6 total cities, and 3 of them, of course, have to be Armenian because he has to meet the same conditions as his marker 1. The barbarian player would need to hold 6 Gallic or Britain cities to win an automatic victory. And then if nobody achieves their victory there, you go to 200 AD. At 200 AD, the victory conditions for the Red Roman player is same as above, but they need 50 cities and the Eagles marker. The Eagles marker is, you learn how to do that, or the rules to that are in the Germania scenario book. Scenarios in the back of the Ancient War series book. Scenario number 2, it's called Germanicus, and they tell you how to use the Eagles marker. Pretty real simple, but the Red Roman player would need that. The Purple Roman player, they would need 50 cities, and they'd have to control 3 Parthian cities. And then the Parthian player needs to just achieve their same victory as before, and the Barbarian player would just need to achieve their same victory plus make sure they have the Eagles marker. And that's the victory conditions. So you got to keep those in mind, and remember, it's always based on the cities. Now, the last concept I want us to understand is the client states and how they work. Because the client states can be on the Roman side or the Parthian side, depending on simply if you invade it, then they automatically go to the other side. But they can also come and go by events, just like the barbarians, so it gets pretty chaotic. But the simple rule is this: if you take a Tan city, then you control that city, and you can recruit those nations' troops. Now, if the nation isn't represented by a named units like Syria. Syria is just given generic units. Then you're allowed to just recruit the generic forces that it started with and the extra generic forces the game came with. It's a legate, it's a fleet, it's an engineer, and it's a supply. Both sides can do that. And both sides, like Parthia can control a couple Syrian cities, and so can the Roman player, and then they're both recruiting the generic forces from Syria. So that's how simple that is. Now, Armenia. If Armenia has a named leader on the board, then the only way to conquer that is, again, you're taking the cities and you will control them. But the client state will not surrender until you do one or two things. You get that leader to defect or you eliminate them. Then the client state will be conquered. And then it'll revert like an independent state where both sides can control the cities. But it's all about the named leader. So it says in the rules, you can force a player to tribute. And that's a rule how you get units to defect. Well, if a client state has a named leader, you have to get the named leader to defect. And then the named leader and every unit that belongs to that client state will defect to your side. And once they're on your side, then the cities and all the units are your allies. In other words, you control the cities for victory conditions, and they're your allies. You can't make individual units defect from that nation if they have a named leader. Now, if they don't have a named leader on the board, then you can make individual combat units defect to your side. So it kind of goes back and forth like that. So keep that kind of stuff in mind. So that's my 5 basic concepts. If you keep those in mind, you're going to do really well in the game, and you're going to know how to proceed and propel through the game. All right, that's it for this video. The next video will be the scenario special rules.